Hello, this is Sarah with Posh Pooch Designs. And today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to make this fun, calorie-free, high-fiber pizza rug. Now this can be a rug, a mat, or a blanket. And once we get started and I show you how to do it, you'll see that you can make this pizza as big as you want to. The rug that I made for Murphy's Pizza Rug measures 24 inches across, 24 inches across. So it's a nice size rug for a small dog. But the way the pattern works, you can continue the increases and make this rug into a blanket or whatever just by making it bigger and bigger. Now the body of the pizza is stitched with 2 strands of cream and 1 strand of red for 3 strands. The red edging is stitched, this is our sauce showing through, is stitched with 3 strands of the red. And then our crust edge is also stitched with 3 strands, but with the beige color. And the yarns that we used were, I have this Erin by Red Heart Super Saver, and you're going to need about 14 ounces for this size. If you're making it bigger, of course, you're going to need more. We're also using this red. It's called Rancho Rojo, or Ranch Red, I guess. I said it to you in Spanish. You're going to need 2 of these, or 14 ounces. And then we have this color here. It's called Cafe Latte. You're going to need 2 of these, or 14 ounces. And yes, I used Red Heart Super Saver to make this rug. And I like using it for my dog items because it washes up really nicely. I just toss it in the wash machine, and then I either lay it on the dryer or out front or out back on the deck just to dry. You can put them in the dryer. I just like them to last as long as possible. For hooks, we're going to be using 2 hooks. You're going to need your 9mm end hook to stitch the body of the pizza. You're going to need your H hook, it's upside down, to do our pepperonis. And the pepperonis are only stitched with 1 strand, where the rest of the body is stitched with 3 strands. You're also going to need a needle for sewing on your pepperonis and weaving in ends, of course, and then a nice pair of sharp scissors. So it doesn't take a lot of supplies, but it takes quite a bit of yarn because this is nice and thick. So if you want to just practice with some that you have on hand, that's fine, just to get the rhythm of how the circle goes. And go ahead and grab your supplies. Oh, and don't forget, this is a free pattern on my blog, Murphy's Pizza Dog Rug, and I'll put that pattern link in the notes under the video. That way you can go and check your stitch counts. We're going to be beginning in the center of our pizza. And what I do, if I'm going to use 3 strands or even 2 strands from the same skein of yarn, I pull 1 strand, let me this way, 1 strand from the center and the other strand from the outside. And it makes it go a little bit slow, but it keeps me from having to buy 2 skeins if I already have the one on hand. You can take the time to roll it into 2 balls if you want to, so that you're working off 2 balls, and that will work as well. And then, of course, the red one I'm just taking right out of the skein from the center. And when we crochet with 3 strands, it's really important to make sure that you keep your yarns together and that it doesn't get loose and loopy or you end up with a bump. So we're just going to take our time and begin holding our 3 strands together and making sure that the tension on all 3 stays the same. So to begin with, we're using our end hook because we're using our 3 strands, and we're going to make a slip knot. So we're going to do it exactly the same that we would if we were with 1 strand. And we have to think of all 3 strands as 1 strand of yarn when we're stitching. So we made our slip knot, and now we're going to chain 4. There we go. 2, 3, 4. And there's our 4 chains. Now for round 1, these first 3 chains will count as our first double crochet. And then we're going to place 9 double crochets in this 4th chain from the hook. We will be stitching almost all double crochets for this whole pizza, except the last row is stitched in singles. So we're going to stitch 9 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook. And this is going to be a little bit tight, but that's okay because we're going to take our time and make them fit. So our chain 3 counted as our first double crochet, and now we're stitching 9 more double crochets in that 4th chain from the hook so that we have a total of 10 double crochets for our beginning circle. When you're stitching with more than one strand, you just have to maybe slow down just a smidge and make sure. So I'm pulling on that. I actually like to let them go on the ground so they can bounce around a little if I have carpet. And I'm holding it with my hand like this just to make sure as I stitch that I keep that tension. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. We need to do 2 more. 9 and 10. There we go. So there's our 10 double crochets in the 4th chain from the hook, and now we're going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch. Be sure and keep your tension, and then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. Now on every row, the beginning chain 3 is going to count as our first double crochet. So keep that in mind when we're stitching. So we have 10 double crochets. For row 2, we're going to place 1 double crochet in the same stitch as our chain 3, and then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each double crochet around. And this is going to give us a nice flat center for our pizza because we don't want it to pucker up or have a bump in it. See what I did there? I lost my loops because I tried to go too fast. So now I got to go back through and finish my double crochet. So we're stitching 2 double crochets in each double crochet around, and then we're going to join back to this chain 3. Row 2, we did 2 double crochets in each double crochet for a total of 20 double crochets, and now we're going to join to the top of that chain 3. There we go, and chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And remember, at the beginning of each row, that chain 3 counts as our first double crochet. Now, for row 2 is where we're going to begin our increase stitches that will form the pattern of how we do the rest of the pizza. So we're going to place 1 double crochet in the first double, or the same double crochet as our chain 3. and then we're going to place 1 double crochet in the next double crochet. So 2 double crochets together and then 1, and then we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next double crochet. 1, 2. And row 3, we will do the pattern of 2 double crochets in the first stitch, 1 double crochet in the next, 2 double crochets in the next stitch, 1 double crochet in the next. So 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, all the way around for row 3. So I did 1, and now I'm going to do 2. 2 double crochets in the next double crochet, 1 double crochet in the next. I will tell you, as I was stitching the other one, I found that if I loosened up just a little bit and didn't stitch quite so tightly after row 3, that my pizza laid nice and flat and worked better. The first couple of tests I did, I stitched row 3 too tightly. But I think once you start stitching row 3, if you just loosen up your tension just a smidge, it will help it ease around and make nice round circles better. Just a tip that I learned. All right, so for row 3, we're going to do 2 double crochets in the next stitch. Make sure we get all 3 of those strands. And 1 double crochet in the next. All the way around, and then we'll join to the top of that chain 3. So I completed row 3. I joined to the top of the chain 3 with a slip stitch and then chained 3. Now on this row of row 3, we did 1 double crochet and then 2 double crochets in the next. On row 4, we're going to be doing 2 and 2. So I'm going to place 1 double crochet in the same stitch as my chain 3. There we go. Get some yarn out here. All right, and now I'm going to place 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets instead of the next 1, like we did on row 3. So we're doing 2 double crochets together, and then 1 double crochet in the next 2, then 2 double crochets together, 1. Looky here, I dropped my loop. If you find that you do that, just pull it out and make sure it's nice and tight. Okay, I'm going to go back a stitch because I don't like that laying loopy. There we go. So here's my 2 together. Then here's 1 double crochet, 1 double crochet. And I'm going to make sure I hold my tension a little bit better. And that's how easy it is to get your tension off. When you're doing 2 or 3 or even 4 strands, it does better if you go just a smidge slower. There we go. So that you get a nice uniform look. So I'm going to pull that like that. There we go. All right. 1 double crochet in the next 2 double crochets. 1, 2. Pull that up. And then 2 double crochets in the next. And that's how the pattern for row 4 works. And we'll do this all the way around. 2 double crochets, then 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, 2 double crochets together, then 1 double crochet in the next 2 stitches, 2 double crochets together, and we repeat that 2 and 2 all the way around. Join to the top of your chain 3 and chain 3. Again, I did my row. This is our 4th row. We did 2 and 2, 2 double crochets together, 1 double crochet in the next 2 all the way around. I joined to the top of my chain 3 and I chained 3. For row 5, it's similar to row 4. The only difference is we're going to place 3 double crochets in between our increased stitches. An increased stitch is where you put 2 double crochets in the same stitch to increase it from 1 to 2, just in case I didn't mention that. All right, so Again, we're going to place 1 double crochet in the same chain as our chain 3, or I mean the same stitch as our chain 3. And then we're going to place 1 double crochet in these next 3 stitches. So we're going to be doing 3 and 2. 1. Get some yarn here. 2. There we go. 3. And then 2 together. And that's the way row 5 will work. 2 double crochets together, then 1 double crochet in the next 3 stitches, and then 2 double crochets together. So we're doing 3 and 2 all the way around row 5. Again, we'll join at the top of our chain 3 and chain 3. So one, 2, 3, and then 2 double crochets in the same double crochet. This is what your rug or blanket or whatever you're making should look like after the 5th row. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now I'm not going to do the next 10 rows. I'm just going to explain to you how it's done. For the 5th row, we did 2 double crochets together and then 3 double crochets in between. And what you'll do for the next 5 rows, rows 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10, you'll increase that number between your increased stitches by 1 each time. For example, we did 3 double crochets in between. For row 6, you're going to do 4. And that will increase every single time. For row 7, you'll have 5 individual double crochets. For row 8, you'll have 6. Row 9, you'll have 7. And row 10, you will have 8. So you're going to increase the amount of double crochets between your increased stitches by 1 for every row. And when you reach row 10, you're going to have 2 double crochets with 8 individual single crochets in between, and then another double crochet. 2 double crochets together, I should say. And that's the way that the pattern works. And if you want to make your pizza a great big blanket, you just continue to increase the same way, adding 1 double crochet between your increased stitches for each row. Now I'm going to go ahead and do the red sauce row. And I think I'm going to make this into a cute little pillow to go along with that rug, since it's going to be kind of small. So go ahead and increase as many rows as you want to for your pizza. And then I'm going to show you how to add your sauce and your crust. All right, so we're going to just pretend that I've done the 10 rows, even though I've only done the 5. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm only going to cut my cream yarn. And I'm going to leave my red one attached because I need 3 strands for the red. So I'm going to go ahead and cut those. And then I'm going to add in my 2. Now, there are a couple things that you can do. You can do the Russian join, but there we go. And the way you do that is what I do that I think works best. It's not the Russian join. It's just my way of just adding yarn in. I thread the end that I want to take off, and I just go into the one I want it to add, and I just put a few stitches through it like this, and then I pull that up through just like that. And it is a little bit sensitive. You don't want to pull too hard on it, But once we get going, when you're working with something really thick like this, I think this is the best way to go. Now, some people just make a knot, and if you want to do that, that's totally fine. But to me, this is a really easy way to do it. You just take your needle and just make a couple of stitches in the yarn that you're adding onto, and just pull that right through your yarn. There we go. My needle over there. And then you just hold them together just like you would. And make sure that you pull, let me turn this so you can see this, the red one down close to where you're starting, because you don't want the white to show through on this next row. So I'm just going to take the tail like this. I'm just going to gently ease it forward. And then we can flick those white tails out of the way. And now we have 3 strands to work with. So we'll go right in our loop. And if you pull it out, you may have to ease them down even farther like I'm having to do. There we go. Because I really don't want those white strands to show through on this next row. All right, so now I'm going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And the truth is, you're going to stitch this row exactly like you do this the other rows. Now, if you're on row 10, adding your red in for your sauce is on row 11. And on row 11, you're going to do 1 double crochet in the same stitch as your chain. Then you're going to have 9 double crochets in between, and then your 2 stitches together for your increase. I'm only on row 6, so I'm only going to have 4 stitches between mine. And again, you want to hold your 3 strands together. I'm going to put my stitch in the same stitch as my chain 3. And then I'm going to have 4 double crochets in between. Now you're going to have 9. Let me put that on the ground so I can pull it. There we go. Now I did the same thing that I did on the cream one or the Aran one, is I used 1 skein from the first red one. Of course, it was already attached. And then I took the top and the bottom, the outside and the inside of my other red skein in order to have the 3 strands. I thought I'd better tell you that. All right, so stitching what I call the sauce row, because I wanted it to look like the spaghetti sauce, or the pizza sauce, I should say. It's exactly the same as stitching any of the other rows. Now here's my 2 together, and I've got 4. Now remember, your pizza's a lot bigger, and so you're going to have 9, or as many as you increased to make your pizza bigger. And you do it exactly the same. You're stitching 3, holding your tension, 3 strands, holding your tension. Let me get that cream one off of there. There we go. I was trying to jump up with what I'm doing. All right. And so you'll do it exactly the same and stitch 1 row all the way around so that it looks like you've got a row of pizza sauce around your pizza. So I completed my pizza sauce row. It's done exactly the same, 3 strands, double crochets, and with the increases. And so now I'm going to do my crust, and the crust again is done exactly the same. I've already joined my crust beige. I think I'm using Cafe Latte in. And again, I'm using 1 skein with coming out of the middle and the outside, and then I have another ball that I rolled so that I have 3 strands of yarn. And again, this is done exactly the same. If you're following the pattern, you'll be on row 12. And so you're going to have 10 stitches between your increase stitches. So you'll chain 3, you'll make 1 double crochet in the same stitch as your double crochet, and then you'll stitch 10 single double crochets, and then you'll do 2 double crochets together, because that's what you'll be doing if you did the pattern exactly as it's written. Now, I didn't, of course. I made it smaller so that I didn't have to do all the rows. So there's my chain 3. I'm going to go right in that same double crochet, and then I'm going to place 5 double crochets in between, because I'm actually only on row 7. 1, 2, 3. Don't get that loop. You got to keep the tension. All right, so here's my 2 double crochets together. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that I'm doing because I'm doing row 7, but you're doing row 12, and so you're going to have 10 individual double crochets, and then we do our 2 double crochets together. Basically, you can make this pizza, like I said, as big as you want it, and it's not going to matter as long as you follow the stitch count pattern. And so we're going to do our double crochet crust, and then we'll join back to the chain 3, and then we're going to do a row of single crochet. So now we've completed our pizza crust, but we need to put an edge on it. And so we're only going to chain 1 because we're going to put a single crochet edge. And you still do the increase the same. If you're following the pattern as written, you're on row 13. And so you're going to place 1 single crochet in the same stitch as the chain 1. And then you're going to place 11 single crochets. And then in the 12th stitch, you'll place 2 single crochets. So you'll be going 11 and 2, 11 and 2, 11 and 2, all the way around. I'm only on my 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8th row. And so I'm only going to have 6 stitches in between my single crochets. All right, so we're going to do our last row. So we chained 1. We're going to place 1 single crochet in that same stitch. And then we're going to place 1 single crochet in the next stitches. Now, like I said, I'm only doing 6 between because I am only on row 8. You're on row 13 if you've done it according to the pattern, and so you're going to have 11 single crochets between your single crochet increases. All right, so I did 2 single crochets here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 single crochets for me. And then I'm going to place 2 single crochets in the next stitch. And we're doing a last row of single crochet just because I think that it gives it a nice edge and a nice finished look. But also, it's going to help it keep its shape in a circle. So we're going to do a row of single crochet around, still doing our increased stitches. And also, when we're done, we'll join to the top and we'll tie off. I completed my last row. I tied off, weaved my ends in, and now I'm ready to add some pepperoni. And to make the pepperoni, we're going to switch over to our H hook, and we're only using 1 strand of our red yarn. So we're going to make a slip knot. And let me move my pizza. All right, so we're going to make a slip knot, and we're going to chain 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to place 9 double crochets in that fourth chain from the hook, because the first 3 chains count as our double crochet. So we'll go right in and stitch 9 double crochets so that we'll have a total of 10 double crochets. And I will say it's a little weird switching to one strand and an H hook when we were stitching with that great big hook and 3 strands of yarn. It's weird how it feels so different. All right, let's count. Here's our chain 3. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. All right. Now we're going to join to the top of that chain 3 with a slip stitch. And then we're going to chain 3. 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to place 2 double crochets in each double crochet around, and then we'll join and tie off, and that will be our pepperoni. So 2 double crochets in each double crochet around. Ten double crochets in the first round and 20 in the second, with 2 double crochets in each double crochet around. Now we're going to cut ourselves off a good sized piece of yarn so we can use that to sew it onto our pizza. So I'm going to tie that off. Let's grab our pizza. And we can just randomly put a pepperoni anywhere we want to. On the big one, I made 8. On the smaller one, I might make just 1 or 2 or even 3. I don't know. So we're just going to place our pizza pepperoni anywhere we want to on our pizza. And I'm just going to hold it because we're using this yarn that we have attached, and I'm just going to go in and out around those edges. And we need to make sure we don't let it pucker. And I just keep going around until I run out of yarn. So I'm just going to go around. And I'll lay it flat and kind of see. Got a string there. Looks like where I weaved in my end. I need to take care of that. And then I might make just a few more stitches, just going back and forth like this around the edges, just to use up whatever piece of yarn I have left. Because the more stitches you put in it, the sturdier it's going to be. And the pepperoni, you don't want that to fall off. Alrighty, so I've gone around quite a few times, and I might even go up into the center and just make a few stitches, making sure I go along with the grain of the yarn so it's not sticking out. Just however you want to do it, just to make sure your pepperoni is going to stay on your pizza. And I'm going to make one over here because I've got my thread there where I tied off underneath. I want to make sure that's going to stay put. There we go. Then I'm just going to flip it over and tie it off, going through a few stitches. And that's how we make and add a pepperoni to our pizza. This one probably needs 2 more for it to look normal, huh? Well, I think I'm going to make a little pillow out of this one. And of course, yours is a lot bigger, and they're lots of fun to make. And remember, just by following the pattern of the increase of adding 1 more double crochet between each increase on each row, You can make this into an enormous blanket. You can make it into a rug, a mat, or whatever you want. The size is totally up to you what size pizza you want to make.